morning, everybody. Can you hear me? All right, good. That's very epic. I remember when we were trying to come up with that. When we were listening to it on TJ's phone or his laptop, it sounded like gunshots, and we're like, not sure if that, but it sounds good up here. Thanks for having me up here. I appreciate it. We're in our third week of the Dominos series, where we're kind of just talking about how we can knock over the next domino, how we can keep going in our lives. This morning when Cody was talking about how sometimes we're not present, even when we're there, that really kind of struck a chord with this. And that's kind of what this series is about, is helping us to be more intentional and be more present in our own lives. Sometimes we're just kind of trying to survive, trying to get past the next challenge or get past the next thing, and we're not really being intentional about moving forward and becoming closer to being the people that God created us to be. So that's what this series is about. We talked about first things first, about establishing that relationship with God and establishing God's importance in our lives. That's the first domino, because without that, none of this matters. Without that, none of us would be here, right? We wouldn't be here if we didn't want to hear what God had to say, and if we didn't want to continue on with the plan that God had for our lives. Then we talked about finances. I listened to Cody's sermon about 2.5 times. I listened to some more of it this morning again. That was really good, because that's an area in my life where I really like it. I'm very data driven. I like numbers, and I like what we're going to talk about later. I like to have all the information in front of me and know as much as I possibly can. Some people don't love that. Some people like to just have a simple plan that's laid out for them, and that's fine too. But finances has been one of the things that I think for me has started to get away from me, because I haven't been focusing on it as much as I usually do, because I've been focusing on what we'll be talking about this morning. Many of the changes that we make, many of the steps that God asks us to take, whatever area of our life it might be, are hard. They're uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to have to look at your finances and tell yourself, no, I can't buy that because I don't have enough money for it. Or to say, no, I'm not going to swipe the card for that. I'm not going to let Visa pay for that and then hope that I can pay for it later. I think I'm guilty of that. I like things. I like to go on vacations. I just got back from Florida. I like to do things, even if we're just hanging out at a pool or something like that. I like to have experiences in my life, so that tends to come at a cost. And the budget's a very important thing for that, if you're not going to be asking Visa for everything and hoping that, hoping to win the lottery or something. I think, I don't really play the lottery much. Every once in a while, it'll get up to like $500 million. I'm like, all right, well, I'll buy a ticket, because why not? I mean, somebody's going to win. And like Cody said last week, some people, I want the challenge of God giving me $1 million. I'll take that bet, because I believe there's a time in my life that I wouldn't have taken that bet, because I believe I would have destroyed myself. But as God has given me steps, and I've continued to take them and build up my relationship with God and my just maturity as I grow older, I take that bet. So it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to make changes. It's also uncomfortable when you have to hold your breath to tie your shoes. That's what we're talking about this morning, is the temple. We're talking about the temple, the body, and maintaining the temple, and the stewardship of the body. Last week we talked about the stewardship of our finances and what God gives us there. Well, God also gave us a body. God calls us to do things that He would like us to do, but He gave us a vessel to do it in. And if we don't take care of that vessel, we're going to be less effective as we go forward with that. And we're not going to be effective for as long, because we're not going to make it as long. And I'm speaking to myself there. I wasn't always good at maintaining the temple. I'm still not always doing that. But I think the last time I preached, it was right before COVID. It was a Wednesday night. It might have been the last Wednesday night that we did. But I was all excited. I was gonna start getting fit. I weighed, I don't know, I don't remember that day. I think I had been dieting for a month or so. I think I probably weighed about 310 pounds at that time. And I had just bought all this fitness equipment, which is a good thing because you couldn't buy fitness equipment after COVID hit, because everybody who went to the gym couldn't go to the gym anymore, and then they had to find something else to do. So I was all excited, and I was really plugged in, and thank God I was able to maintain that and to keep going in it, because over my life experience, I've probably gained and lost like 400 pounds in my life. I've been, ever since I was 16 years old, I've struggled with it, and well, before that, but at 16 was when I first started to learn about dieting and learn about things like that, and I would get a plan and I would follow it for a while, and then that would get boring, and I didn't have anything set up to keep me going when I hit that failure point. Hang on, I need a drink. This morning, I usually am up here on the worship team, and I was singing the first two songs. I was singing full blast, and then I'm like, you got to stop doing that. You're not going to be able to talk. So we're talking about maintaining the temple, and my title today is Maintaining the Temple, Options, Not Advice. With the temple, we're talking about the body that God gave us. In 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, it says, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies." This is a tough one. I mean, because it's my body. I can do whatever I want with it. I do like the fact that now in society, people, have come out against shaming people, and I like it when people are comfortable with who they are, but you also don't want to get to a point where you're comfortable with being unhealthy and not taking care of what God has given you. So today I'm going to be coming from a point of fitness and that part of the temple, but this can be used with any part of dealing with your body or any areas of your life, really. I'm giving kind of steps on how to do something that you want to do, how to do something that you're setting out to do, and to set yourself up for success. But we could be talking about other things, maybe we're talking about smoking, maybe we're talking about getting more sleep or having more downtime, having more prayer time. There's all kinds of things. We all have something within us, I believe, that we have a lot of things within us, but there's always something nagging at us, like the next thing. And that's what this is about, is getting you to knock over that next domino so that you can keep things going and that you can keep progressing with the plan that God has for your life. We're trying to write a blueprint for success in different areas of our lives, but this morning we're talking about the physical part of our lives. The second part of my title is Option, Not Advice, because we're all on our own journey. We all have different tendencies. We all have different things that work for us and don't work for us. That's why sometimes one diet plan or one fitness plan or whatever plan, one finance plan won't, typically each person is unique. There's going to be things about everything that probably don't work for you. So as you grow and you get to know yourself better, you can take the information from these things and create something that will work for you. And that's kind of what I've done over the last, I'm 40, so 24 years of reading diet plans and reading fitness plans and trying them and then giving up on them for years. At one point, I had myself up to 330 pounds, and that I don't even know how it happened. I just started doing what I wanted to do. I like eating. I like food is good. Anybody here like to eat? So that's the difficult part about it. But I still do eat things. But each one of us is different, and we all have different things. You've heard people say everything in moderation, right? That doesn't work for me. I don't moderate. it works for me once I get into a cycle. Like it's been about over a year and 3 months or so since I've been doing this, and that's become my life. So I can eat a piece of cake now. I ate a piece of cake last night, and this morning I didn't eat any cake. This morning I had egg whites and a egg wrap. But moderation doesn't work for me, so that's not part of my plan. When I'm creating something for myself, moderation isn't one of them. I can't, at the beginning, for the first probably year, I can't have any of that stuff, because if I drink one sip of soda or eat one piece of cake, something happens to me inside that, one, makes me want more soda and more cake, and two, makes me think, well, you already ate soda and cake, so you might as well just keep doing it. I mean, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, I'm the type of person, if I exercise, if I go and work out in the morning or in the evening, I'll be so good on eating healthy because I don't want to ruin that. Even though I just burnt 1,500 more calories than I would have if I hadn't have done that, now I won't eat. But when I have done nothing, I'm like, yeah, I can eat that cake. So that's just something for me. And what I'm trying to get at is that you just have to know yourself and know what your thing is, and know what you can and can't do while you're creating this plan for whether it be fitness or finances or whatever it is, that you have to know yourself. So the first point here is that you have to find your whats and your whys. 1 Corinthians 9:24-27 says, I just did something there. Isn't it obvious that all runners on a racetrack keep on running to win, but only one receives the victor's prize? Yet each one of you must run the race to be victorious. A true athlete will be disciplined in every respect, practicing constant self-control in order to win a laurel wreath that quickly withers. But we run our race to win a victor's crown that will last forever. For that reason, I don't run just for exercise or box like one throwing aimless punches, but I train like a champion athlete. I subdue my body and get it under my control so that after preaching the good news to others, I myself won't be disqualified. The Message Bible, which I don't always go to because sometimes I don't really like the language, but it simplifies things a lot. It says, I don't know about you, but I'm running hard to the finish line. I'm giving it everything I've got. No lazy living for me. I'm staying alert and in top condition. I'm not going to get caught napping, telling everyone else about it, and then missing out myself. Because don't we do that? We get on a kick, or we have the knowledge up here. Like you can ask me later on if anybody ever wants advice on different diets and different fitness plans. I've done a good portion of them. I know a lot about them. I can tell you about them. But then I myself didn't, while I was preaching it, I myself wasn't living it, and then disqualify myself from it. So we don't want to do that in our lives, whether it be our financial life or our spiritual life or our physical life. We want to be able to experience the glory also, and give God all the glory for it. This scripture is a good, like I said, you have to find your whats and your whys. This is a good what. This is a good spiritual, or a good why. A good spiritual reason for your why is because God asked me to do it. God wants us to take care of ourselves. That's a great reason. And we're at church, and we want to be spiritual, but sometimes that's not enough for us. It's not enough just to say, well, God told me to do it, because God isn't there vocally in your ear, hammering on you all the time. You have to. That's another part of your life, your prayer life. You have to be engaging with God to hear from God. Sometimes, I mean, there's been times when I've really gotten off track and God's like, hello, and then I'm like, oh. But most of the time, we have to be intentionally engaging in that. So you have to find your what. What are you setting out to do? What is God calling you to do? I had a friend that was in a bad spot, and he was smoking and chewing and drinking and doing all kinds of things, and I was talking to him, and I said, you're killing yourself. I mean, because that was my go-to. Like, you're literally killing yourself. You're doing just about everything you can possibly do. And he said, well, I just don't care. He said, he was in a bad spot, some things had happened in his life. He said, I just don't care about any of that stuff. I don't care if my life is shorter. I don't care about any of that. I said, that's good. It's not good, but that's all good. But sometime you're going to come around to a point where you do care. And by the time you hit that point, how much damage have you already done to yourself? And that did actually strike a chord with him. I won't say that it was, it didn't solve all the problems or anything like that, but we all hit bad spots in our lives. We all hit times where we just can't focus on anything else but surviving or raising our kids or doing whatever it is that we have to do, or managing our marriages, or whatever it might be. We're just surviving, and we just get to that point where we're present but we're not present. And we have to then have whys. So you find your what. What am I setting out to do? I'm setting out to lose weight. I'm setting out to, gain more muscle, to be healthy and, stop eating donuts, whatever it might be. And then we have to find our whys. Why are we doing this? We have to find those things like, I'm going to feel better later and then wish I did it. Maybe it's our family. Maybe we want to live to see. We don't think about this stuff all the time, but maybe we want to live to see our kids grow up and live to see our grandkids and get to see that. Maybe we want to look better. That's okay. A lot of people are, well, that's vain. Well, I'm sorry, but how many people really don't want to look better? I mean, let's be honest. No, I'm too holy for that. I don't care. So you want to look better. A lot of us want to live longer. I'm one of those people. I do. I like life. I like the challenges. I like the challenge of just getting up in the morning and trying to be better than I was the day before. That's my New Year's resolution every year. It's not anything specific every year. It's just when I look back, when I hit January 1st the next year, I want to look back and say, I'm a better person now, and I'm in a better spot than I was on January 1st of last year, no matter what that is. Maybe we want to be able to live out the plans that God has for our lives. I really like helping people with fitness and with diet and things like that. Some of you were in my Daniel plan group years ago. Like, I've always been into that. I really like because like I said, I like data, I like all the information, and I like to push that forward to other people. And now I'm trying to actually live that so that I can be a better steward of what God gave me and help other people be a better steward. I mean, how many people want to go and listen to a fitness guy that, weighs 350 or 400 pounds? I had a doctor that when I was in college told me I was obese. At that time, I was big, but I was in pretty good shape and my body fat wasn't that high, but this guy was like 400 pounds. And I'm thinking, okay, this is the last time I'm coming here. But hang on, I need another drink. I sang too much. So we want to live longer to do what God has planned for us and to be able to serve longer. We want to feel stronger. It's great to feel stronger. I mean, I feel good right now. I still got a ways to go, but I feel pretty good. I'm going to start on the softball team today. That's actually, like, for a few years in a row, people have mentioned it, and I really like softball, and I like things like that, but I wasn't comfortable. I don't know if I can bend over and get the ball, but I can now. I might fall, but I'll get it. I'll at least block it with my body. So that's exciting. Some people get a health scare, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, things like that, something where they begin to feel the physical effects or get a bad report from the doctor and start then thinking about, oh, well, I can kind of pinpoint why some of these things are happening. And it's my fault, a lot of it. Sometimes it's not. I mean, some things are not within your control, but it doesn't mean that you can't do better. I mean, certainly what we eat and what we do affects our body. You know, I one time lost weight eating McDonald's. I just did it to prove that I could. It's calories in, calories out. I ate 1,000, 1,500 calories of McDonald's, and I burnt 2,500 calories every day, so I could lose weight. But I felt horrible. There was that one show, Super Size Me, I think. Now that guy gained weight, but it's still not good for you. So there is something to what you're eating and what you're putting in, to how your body reacts to it, and diabetes and heart disease and things like that. So that can be a why for you. Family, looking better, living longer, God's plans for us, feeling stronger, health scares, reaching fitness goals. Like I said, I'm playing softball. But some people want to run a marathon. That's a thing for people. They're like, I want to run a marathon. I think it's just because it's a really hard thing to do, and why not? I haven't gotten there yet. I actually I would enjoy like trail running and things more like that than just doing it to see how far I can go. But I'm not saying that I won't do it, because it's actually, I used to say I'll never do it, and then now all of a sudden I'm saying, well, maybe I'll do it. So find your why, because that's what's going to keep you going when you plateau or feel like you can't go on. Why am I doing this? I'm doing it because I want to see my kids grow up. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this so that my legs aren't numb anymore because I have pre-diabetes, or whatever that might be, because that's what happened to me. I started getting signs of pre-diabetes and numbness in my legs and things like that, and the doctor said, well, you maybe have diabetes. And I said, I didn't want to get tested. I said, I already know, because I have all this information in my head, that I can cure this with diet and exercise. So that's what really set it over for me. So find your what's and your whys. 2 is to set your goals. You need both short-term and long-term goals. The short-term goals help you to feel like you're having some success. Like if you just say, I'm going to lose 100 pounds, well, that's going to be a long journey. But you can lose 10 pounds and then lose another 10, and then lose another 10. So you need to have those short-term goals set up for you. That was mine. I wanted to lose 100 pounds. That seemed very far away. Now I'm at about 70, a little over 70 maybe. So now 100 pounds doesn't seem so big of a deal, but 10 pounds at a time, 10 pounds at a time, those were my short-term goals. And then they usually take a little more sacrifice than long-term goals do. They take, extreme action sometimes. Like if you really have a bad diet, or you really aren't doing anything, you have to then go and sacrifice. There's some bodybuilders that can consume 10,000 calories in a day and just maintain their weight. But that's because they're doing 10,000 calories worth of exercise, and they're not trying to lose weight anymore. So you can't do that right off the bat. You have to start with their short-term goals. Luke 14:28 through 30 says, so don't follow me without considering what it will cost you. For who would construct a house before first sitting down to estimate the cost to complete it? Otherwise, he may lay the foundation and not be able to finish. The neighbors will ridicule him, saying, look at him, he started to build but couldn't complete it. This is something with long-term goals and short-term. They have to be attainable. They have to be something that you can actually do. I'll tell people, I'm never going to be in the NBA. I don't have the height. I'm not great at basketball. That's not an attainable goal for me. You have to set things that are reasonable, and you have to count the cost. What is it going to take to get there? Like some people I just want to lose 100 pounds. I want to lose about 130 pounds and gain 30 pounds of muscle, so that's a 100-pound loss minus 30 pounds of muscle. So that's going to take a little more discipline, so I had to count that cost, and this is going to take a long time. It's been over a year. It's probably going to take 3 or 4 years maybe to get where I want to get at a reasonable pace. But you have to have reasonable goals, and you have to have something attainable and something that short-term that you can grasp onto. Well, I lost 10 pounds. Now I'm going to lose another 10 pounds. That's what the debt snowball, and Dave Ramsey, he's a financial guy, his debt snowball, he has people pay off their lowest debts first, not their highest interest. That doesn't make sense to people with a financial brain, that you pay off a lower interest loan just because it's lower. But his thing is, if you pay off that first, you pay off that $1,000 credit card, it's going to keep you going. It's going to keep you rolling. And the same thing goes with anything that you do in your life. You have to set up goals that you can actually reach and that are going to set you up mentally for success. So you have to set your goals. Third is you have to make your plans. Like goals, you need short-term and long-term plans. You can get help from all kinds of experts. There's people out there with plans. There's people out there with podcasts. There's people out there with whatever you want to find. People are willing to either sell you something, give it to you for free, whatever. There's all kinds of things out there. You have to find things that are going to work for you and then set them up within your short-term plans. Most of the things that I get from, like, whether it be financial or fitness or whatever, are short-term because I change. It's a fluid thing. You want to keep everything fluid. You want to be able to change along with your progress, and you change as a person. So you might not want to do that plan anymore, or you might want to do something tougher. I started off with, just walking, and then you go on to a stair climber, and then you're doing T25 and P90X. Right now I do something called Basement Beasts. It's a band program. It's a resistance bands, and it's really intense, and it requires basically no equipment but $50 worth of bands, and I really like it. I did it when I was on vacation. I had my wife doing it too. We'd get up in the morning and do the bands, and then we averaged 15,600 steps on our vacation per day. Because that's what we set out to do. So you have to make plans, and then your long-term plans are basically a basic roadmap to how you're going to finish that race. And you can set up your short-term plans in there and tweak them as much as you can based on how things are working out for you. And this works for everything. It's not just fitness. It works for anything. You just have to set yourself up with attainable goals that you can actually grasp onto and see progress. And sometimes it'll take longer than others. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time, but the way that I did it with my weight loss was, I know that I'm going to plateau. I know at a certain point I'm not going to be losing any weight anymore if I keep doing the same thing. So first I started out with just dieting and maybe doing a little bit of exercise. I knew for 3 or 4 weeks I would lose weight that way, and I would keep doing it, and I didn't have to do a lot of exercise. After that, I was going to start exercising, and I was going to begin, we got the fitness equipment that I was talking about in my last sermon, and I started using that a little bit, and then I started using it more. And then after that, I started cutting more calories out. And I just did things to continue to reduce my calories or increase my calorie burn, but it wasn't a huge sacrifice because it was a gradual thing. I wasn't rushing it. I used to try to rush it. I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 3 months. Well, that's not even good for you. So you have to make a plan, and you have to make a plan that works for you, that you know that you're going to follow, that you're going to be able to complete. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Just because it works for Sean T., he's one of the Beachbody guys, or just because it works for Dave Ramsey doesn't mean that it'll work for you exactly the same. So you have to make the plan according to who you are and be honest with yourself. That's a big part, be honest with yourself. I don't know. Can I do this? Or won't I do this? Or maybe I can't do it right now, but maybe this will be maybe after I lost 20 pounds, maybe then I'll be to this level to be able to do that. That's why it has to be fluid when you're making your plan. So find your what's in your why, set your goals, and make your plans. And then you just have to find a way to keep getting back up and keep knocking over more dominoes. Because sometimes things are going to hit you. Throughout this year and a half, I've had really good points in my life, and then I've had some down points in my life. And through that, I still needed to find a way to follow the plan. So when things got real bad, I would look to my whys. Well, I don't want to have diabetes. I don't want to not be able to play sports. I don't want to not be able to swim in the pool with my kids because I feel uncomfortable. I don't want to have a heart attack when I'm in my mid-40s because that happens. So I would go back to that, and then I would go to, sometimes I find an inspirational person, somebody that I know or somebody that I read about that had it much worse than I did and overcame much greater, whether it be weight loss or whatever it is, that I could do that. If they can do it and they had that situation going on in their lives, then I can do it also. If they can, whatever it might be, if they can be $8 million in debt and come out of it, I can come out of my $50,000 or whatever it might be. Find something to latch onto. Find something that's going to work for you, and then keep getting back up and keep kicking over more dominoes. The quicker that you get back up, the less likely you are to have to repeat a domino. You know how when you're setting up the dominoes and you knock them over, and if they don't all go down, well then if you're a completionist, you have to set them all back up. You don't just keep knocking them over. But in this scenario, you might have to go back sometimes, but if you get right back up, if I eat that pizza, and then the next morning I'm like, nope, I'm back on the diet, I don't have to set that domino up again. I don't have to go and gain another 30 pounds back and then go back and start from the beginning. I can keep doing it. So it's just keep getting back up. You find what you want to do, why you want to do it, set your goals, short-term and long-term. Make your plans, short-term and long-term, and then just keep doing it. And if it doesn't work for you, change it up a little bit. Change it up for something that will work for you. Continue to revise and refresh your goals and plans, because that's what's going to keep you going. Keep getting more information. Keep it fresh and in the front of your mind. That's something that I'm big on, is I continue to read books and I continue to listen to podcasts and do whatever it is to keep my mind on whatever I'm trying to do. Dennis is one that I really appreciate. When he gets into studying something, you read everything. And I like that. You have to keep learning more about it and just keep growing and keep it at the forefront of your mind so that you can keep going. Otherwise, you forget about it. 1 Corinthians 9:24-25. We read that already, but it says, "Isn't it obvious that all runners on a racetrack keep on running to win, but only one receives the victor's prize? Yet each one of you must run the race to be victorious. A true athlete will be disciplined in every respect, practicing constant self-control in order to win a laurel wreath that quickly withers. But we run our race to win a victor's crown that will last forever." That's what it's really all about. It's about looking to God and saying, "God, what is it that you want me to do? What are the plans that you have for me? What's the next step you want me to take? And where do I have to be to make that happen?" For me, if I want to instruct people or encourage people in fitness, in my mind, I have to be fit. So that's something that's important to me, because that's going to eventually get me to the goal that I want. How can I complete the race to the best of my ability and glorify God? I think I ran through that a lot quicker than I thought I was going to, but that's okay. So I hope that I went through it quick. I can give you more information if you're into fitness and things like that, and there's people that are more qualified than me, but I'd be happy to talk to anybody on that. But just find out what it is that God is asking you to do. Find out that next step that He wants you to take, and then begin to make a plan to make it happen. Don't just sit by and not do it. Make a plan. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank you. We thank you that you give us these bodies, and that you give us the life that you give us, and the opportunities to stand here before you, Lord, and to continue to progress, Lord. We pray that you give us the courage to recognize the steps, the courage to recognize our weaknesses, to recognize the next domino that we want to knock over, Lord, and to do the things that you're telling us to do to make that happen, Lord. I don't know what the next step is for everybody here, Lord, but whether it be fitness, whether it just be getting closer to you, Lord, whether it be just praying in the morning, just setting aside 5 minutes to pray in the morning, whether it's to clear some areas of our life out that there's a lot of clutter, and to just set more time aside for you, or set more time aside for our families, or set more time aside to do the next thing that you're calling us to do, Lord. We pray that you give us the courage to do that. Give us the ambition to go out, Lord, and to get the information that we need, and to get whatever it is that we need to take that next step, Lord, because it's out there. We just need to be willing. Lord, I just thank you for being able to stand up here today, Lord, for giving me the courage to step forward and complete the goals that you set before me, and complete the steps, Lord, and to keep me going, Lord. Help each one of us to do that. Help each one of us to recognize. Help each one of us to be present in our own lives, and to be intentional about becoming closer with you, Lord, and the plan that you have for us.